You're watching WNDU TV. News Center 16 at noon starts now.
The heat is unfortunately here. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Travis Robinson. The heat index hitting the triple digits for the next few days. We'll tell you what you need to do to be safe in these dangerous temperatures. But first, Storm Team 16 meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us now to tell us more about the excessive heat warning and what we should be aware of.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for over a week now, so I don't think it should come as a surprise to anybody, but the heat index is going to top the 100-degree mark this afternoon in all parts of Michiana. Here's where the heat index values are right now, and I'll tell you at the moment, that is not a good number out of South Bend. I'm not sure what's going on with the reading there, but they're probably at around 90 to kind of fill in everybody else. You can see it's up to 94 right now in Lafayette. Burlington, Iowa, the first people on this map to hit 100 for the day today, and it's only noon. Of course, it's only 11 p.m. out there, and so we are on our way. We are going to definitely be heating up, and that excessive heat warning now lasts through Sunday. So it's basically from now through Sunday. Every afternoon, our heat index value is between 100 and 108, and Saturday, I think, will be the highest number, probably 104 to 108. But we aren't going to have to worry about any rainfall. You can see the nearest thunderstorms up in the UP in Michigan. That's moving east. It's just the heat. We'll have more details on that in your fireworks forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Mike. And with this hot weather, make sure you're taking the proper precautions to prevent heat-related illnesses. Experts say it's important to stay as cool and hydrated as possible. There are 3 levels of heat-related illnesses. There's going to be heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Officials say if you're sweating profusely or not at all in the heat, those are immediate signs of danger and you need to get into shade as soon as possible.
Heat stroke is the true emergency. Heat stroke is when you've gone past what your body can cope with. So it's really important that they get help.
The fastest way to cool down your body is to put ice packs under your arms, near your groin, and around your neck. And don't forget about your pets. Concrete and asphalt surfaces can get dangerously hot for dogs. If you take them for a walk, go in the morning or go in the late evening when the pavement is cooler. Also be sure to give them plenty of water and don't leave them outside for too long. Now, turning to national news, we now know the names of the 5 people killed in a shooting at a Maryland newspaper. Gerald Fishman was an editor and a page editor. The 61-year-old had been at the Capital Gazette for more than 25 years. John McNamara was a writer who loved covering sports and had written 2 books about University of Maryland's football and basketball history. Rebecca Smith had joined the newspaper last year as a sales assistant, and Rob Hyacin had worked as an assistant editor and a Sunday columnist since 2010. And Wendy Winters was an editor and community reporter, writing several weekly columns. And we now know the identity of the man accused in the mass shooting. And while there are hints at a motive, investigators are still trying to figure out what drove him to kill these 5 people. NBC's Nikki Carvanal explains the tragedy from Washington.
38-year-old Jared Ramos charged today with 5 counts of murder, accused of opening fire on the newsroom of the Annapolis Capital Gazette. Investigators say the rampage followed a years-long vendetta against the community paper. But the big question, why now?
There's still a lot of questions that we need answers. He's not being very cooperative. So that's been part of the issue.
Now inside the building, shooting people right now with a shotgun.
Police say Ramos showed up in the paper's newsroom armed with a long gun and using smoke grenades, causing confusion for the people inside.
In that moment, I thought I was going to die.
Witnesses describing chaos.
The office was kind of in shambles. Unfortunately, we had to pass 2 bodies of our colleagues, which was something that nobody should ever have to stomach.
Their small newsroom suddenly the epicenter of the biggest story in the country. Today, the Gazette staff working through the tragedy, publishing a paper with a heart-wrenching front page bearing the faces of their 5 dead colleagues.
The paper also left its opinion page blank in honor of the victims. Nikki Carvajal, NBC News, Washington.
And this just in from a press conference, the shooter used a pump-action shotgun legally purchased about a year ago. Now, President Trump is scheduled to address this mass shooting around 12:15. Now, back to local news. We have new information on a child molestation case in Marshall County. On Tuesday, the Marshall County Sheriff's Department received a complaint that 19-year-old Alan Diltz had inappropriate sexual conduct with a 14-year-old girl. The department investigated the incident and confirmed that Diltz did have illegal contact with the underage girl on June 23rd. It happened in the early morning hours at a residence in Marshall County. Dilts was sent to the Marshall County Jail for a level 3 felony of child molestation. The case was forwarded to the Marshall County Prosecutor's Office for formal review and charges. And we now know when Benton Harbor School's new superintendent will start. Board President Dr. Marletta Seitz says Robert Herrera will assume his new role on July 17th. He'll take over following the resignation of former superintendent Dr. Shelley Walker. Herrera will eventually transition into the CEO position to overlook the district. Happening now on Notre Dame's campus, the historic Corby Hall is being demolished. The project began this morning. University officials say the original goal was to renovate the building, but most of the interior is made of brick, so it was deemed impossible to make cost-efficient renovations. Corby Hall was home for Holy Cross brothers and priests. Now the hall is being rebuilt, but it's going to take some time. The new hall will be ready sometime in mid-2020. Holy Cross priests and brothers will live elsewhere on the university's campus during construction. Some new details: St. Joseph Health System and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield have agreed on a new contract. This ensures patients will continue to have access to health care at Mishawaka Medical Center, Plymouth Medical Center, and throughout the St. Joseph Physician Network. It also ensures in-network coverage for patients who have Anthem employer-sponsored benefit plans, Medicaid, and Anthem Medicare Advantage plans. The American Civil Liberties Union is praising a federal judge's ruling that temporarily blocks a portion of Indiana's newest abortion law. It would require medical providers to report patient information to the state if they treat women for complications arising from abortions. The law is set to take effect Sunday, but a judge found the law was unconstitutionally vague. New at noon, the community of Auburn, Indiana is arguing between freedom of speech and respect for others. A woman noticed a sign in front of a church containing a message of intolerance for LGBTQ individuals. She then shared this story on social media. Jeff Newmeyer tells us about the war between words and those who support the church's free speech rights and those who support the woman's actions.
A spokesperson for Remnant Fellowship Church told me, "We do not hate gays and lesbians," but a message posted outside the church reads, "LGBTQ is a hate crime against God. Repent."
I kind of sat there for a little bit. What am I supposed to do about this?
Kristen Russell says she drove by the sign, saw it, and was deeply offended.
I saw the message, stay open-minded, in the letters, so I thought, why don't I just change it to that?
Indeed, Russell stopped and shuffled the letters around to form the new message of stay open-minded. The church shortly after changed it back the way it was. I spoke with a pastor of Remnant Fellowship who said their message is an attempt to reach young people and steer them away from a lifestyle they believe is harmful to them. The church says we're not intolerant of others' beliefs, but we are finding those on the other side of this issue are intolerant of ours. Russell posted her action on Facebook, prompting strong reactions. Dave wrote, "So what you people are saying is that church doesn't have the right to free speech, but you do? I guess your opinions are the only ones that matter." Brian wrote, "Yes, you have a right to comment on the sign, but that church also has a right to their freedom of speech, so if you don't like it, don't look at it. But what you did is vandalism." This person wrote in support of Russell, saying, "I think I was driving by as you must have been changing this. Thank you for loving others deeply."
We reached out to several churches, including the Catholic Diocese. Most didn't want to talk on camera. It's a controversial subject. Plymouth Congregational Church has very strong feelings on the issue.
It's been said that those who would lash out at the LGBTQ community, it's the last acceptable prejudice, and we do not find it acceptable.
Kristen Russell and leaders of Remnant Fellowship both claim to have received threats, challenging the notion words can never hurt you. Jeff Newmeyer, Fort Wayne's NBC.
Now happening today, prepare for carnival rides, delicious food, contests, and much more. That's all happening at the 93rd Annual St. Joseph County 4-H Fair, and it kicks off today. You'll be able to get your fill of all that delicious fair food, take a spin on those rides, and partake of the many other contests and events. If you're concerned about heading there in the heat, there is no need to worry. There will be plenty of air-conditioned buildings, misting stations, and fans.
It shouldn't be a huge concern as long as you keep yourself hydrated. Just being smart about that. We have plenty of places where air conditioned. You can actually go in and relax and be cool or cool off. There's plenty of stations that have water for sale.
It's officially opened up at noon, and admission costs $10, but kids 8 and under get in for free.
Does that matter?
More to come on News Center 16.
With the 4th of July coming up next week, it's going to be a busy travel weekend. What you should look out for. Plus, a shocking new study shows flight attendants are exposed to harmful radiation. what long-term effects show, and find out how to slow the progression of Alzheimer's with a common household cooking ingredient.
And we know it's going to be hot during the afternoon hours, but what about at dusk when the fireworks start? We'll check out that forecast and your weekend outlook coming up.
You're watching WNDU TV, News Center 16 at noon.
And we're back with a travel alert. If you're getting a head start on your Independence Day holiday, we have a travel alert to share with you. Transportation Security Administration predicts a near record 2.6 million people will go through an airport today alone. That's nearly 500,000 more people than a typical travel day. As for the summer overall, airline experts say nearly 250 million people will fly somewhere from June 1st through August 31st. That's one of the reasons why the TSA has beefed up its security efforts with a greater focus on powders and electronic devices like laptops. There's a troubling trend you should be on the lookout for if you do plan to travel this summer. People are using a simple method to get your personal information, and you may not even notice. Liz McLaughlin explains ways to protect yourself.
Are you snooping on my phone? When many of us use devices in public, we don't want our screens to be public, but sometimes they are.
You'll see someone that's laughing at the same, whatever joke you're looking at.
It's called shoulder snooping or visual hacking, and most often happens in crowded spaces. Airports, coffee shops, and college campuses are all prime targets for nosy neighbors.
People, snooping over at Instagram or Facebook or something.
Many take a peek out of harmless curiosity.
I think it's human nature.
But it can also be a way to get your personal information.
This is a low-level invasion of privacy, but it could have high-impact negative results.
Avoid sensitive transactions in public places, such as entering passwords or credit card numbers. A simple solution to this problem: get a privacy screen like this one. It's a tempered glass cover that's like a tinted window for your phone. Once applied, you would still see this, but a screen snooper would only see this. Sitting against the wall and using small font can also help.
So the rule of the road is, if you're conducting business, you don't want someone up in your business.
Tips to keep those shoulder snoopers off your back. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
And here we are heading toward the 4th of July, and believe it or not, tonight there are 2 fireworks displays, one at the St. Joe County Fair. I'm going to be there at 5 and 5:30 and 6 o'clock, by the way, if you want to stop by and check things out. And Dowagiac also having fireworks display tonight at dusk. These are the temperatures I'm expecting, between 82 and 87, probably leaning toward the lower end for Dowagiac and the higher end for the St. Joe County Fair. Heat index values, though, should still be in the 90s, so it's still going to be very muggy, hazy, but I think it's going to be a little better to enjoy those fireworks displays. Here's what FutureTrack is showing for the heat index for later this afternoon, right where we've been thinking all along, 100 to 104 in most areas. Now, if you're going to the beaches, not quite as bad as you can see. Our model showing just in the 90s. Still hot, still humid. By tomorrow morning, we're still talking muggy conditions at 6 a.m. It's going to feel like it's in the mid to upper 70s still. And then later on tomorrow, right where we've been thinking all along, we're somewhere in the middle 100s, maybe as high as 108 in some places. And I suppose southwestern areas, you could actually go toward 110 south of US 30. This is the latest computer model forecast, and this is exactly what we've been showing you all along. And that's where we're headed. 82 degrees right now as far as the temperature is concerned in South Bend. You can see off to the southwest, it's almost 90. You have to realize it's still 11 a.m. out there in Missouri and Kansas. They are also in a drought, which means they heat up easier when the sun doesn't have to heat up all the moisture in the ground as well. It heats up the air much more quickly, and so that's why they can heat up a lot more than we will. But the heat index, they do have some humidity into the 90s there already. We are at 85 here, but heading toward the 90s and eventually probably 100 or a little bit higher in South Bend. Satellite radar combination showing some thunderstorms way up in the UP and Michigan. We had some last night head southward. That was kind of an interesting area of thunderstorms. It formed over Nebraska, came south through St. Louis, and then it eventually went south and southwest into Texas and Louisiana. Kind of a strange situation, but sometimes that happens. It was a complex of thunderstorms, brought some cooler air temporarily to those folks. Of course, if it does rain in the heat like this, it just makes it muggier after the rain leaves. So it's a temporary cooling. You can see none of that coming our way. We're going to stay dry, no doubt about it. Now, there's a place where you could go to at least try to escape the heat. Although it is 86 degrees, the water temperature is a lot cooler. That's from the Blue Chip Casino, by the way. And we'll check out downtown South Bend. You can't be jumping in that water, but you know, you can take a little walk if you want to. 82 degrees, winds are southerly at 16. Here's what the future looks like. 16 FutureTrack as we head through tonight. Heat and humidity staying. We're going to stay in that heat and humidity, but we're going to stay dry through the day tomorrow. Again, heat index values into that 104, 108 range is what we're thinking for the afternoon hours. We stay very muggy tomorrow night, and we start hot and humid on Sunday as well. We'll have a few more clouds on Sunday. There's noon, and then a chance for a shower or thunderstorm, mainly by the evening. You can see maybe a spot or two at 3 p.m., 7 p.m., then showing some of them come in. By midnight, better chance for a shower or thunderstorm. That front goes on by, but it doesn't cool it down a lot, just a little bit. Here's my Storm Team 16 forecast, and for today, hazy sunshine, hot and humid, high temperature of 92, heat index 100 to 102. And then Saturday's forecast, another red day because of the heat. That's what we're going that way for. Very hot and humid, 94 with the heat index values in the mid 100s. And then you can take a look at the rest of the forecast. It does, let's just say we take the edge off the heat as we head into next week. This is not going to be cool air coming this way. Still pretty warm heading through the 4th of July. It should be hot this time of year, but we don't want it too hot.
Well, since 4th of July lands in the middle of the week there, maybe if you're planning on celebrating only one weekend, next weekend is probably the better
Right, the second one might be slightly cooler than this one, but fireworks displays on a lot of days coming up here because of where the 4th is.
All right. Well, coming up, could a common household ingredient prevent Alzheimer's? We'll tell you what researchers found. And a health alert for flight attendants, the harmful radiation effects of flying, when News Center 16 at noon continues.
Well, I hope I didn't make you drop something. Okay.
And we're back with a health alert. Studies say eating a Mediterranean diet can have many health benefits. Auburn University researchers have found that a component in extra virgin olive oil might slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Marlena Muma shows us how this happens.
For years, nutritionists have been talking about the benefits of extra virgin olive oil in your diet. Now, a group of Auburn researchers have discovered that a component in the oil may help with Alzheimer's disease.
We're using something that's part of our daily life that we can use, consume on a daily basis without the risk of any side effects or like drugs or any other compounds. So it's a very healthy choice to be consumed on a daily basis.
They are looking at a molecule that appears in extra virgin olive oil, oleocanthal, an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory natural product. They tested it on mice with Alzheimer's disease, adding extra virgin olive oil into their food, and the results were very positive.
We found that EVO was associated with less neuroinflammation, also less oxidative stress, other hallmarks that are associated with the Alzheimer's. So it is amazing when you find this in diet, in extra virgin olive oil, that it has such kind of capability.
They are excited in the direction their studies are taking them, but say this is not a treatment.
When we talk about extra virgin olive oil, we are proposing, according to our results, that if we have it early enough, it may prevent, decrease the risk of Alzheimer's disease, or maybe it can slow the progression.
The next step, human trial, in hopes that their new therapy will have the answer to one day treat this complicated disease.
And some not so good news for flight attendants. They're at risk for more than just a bad case of jet lag. New research shows they also tend to have higher cancer rates. A Harvard survey of more than 5,300 U.S. flight attendants finds a higher rate of non-melanoma cancer than the general population. Breast cancer was especially higher, followed by uterine, gastrointestinal, thyroid, and cervical cancers. At flight altitudes and when you fly all the time, the exposure is higher. But it's not just radiation exposure. Shift work, work at night, and crossing time zones wreak havoc on the body's internal clock.
Flight attendants and pilots are actually both considered to be radiation workers, and in the U.S., they're the most highly exposed radiation workers.
The findings suggest more should be done to minimize the cancer risk among flight attendants. The Association for Flight Attendants president urges OSHA and the FAA to mandate preventative workplace protections from radiation exposure for flight attendants. Now coming up, Storm Team 16 Chief Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us for a quick look at the brutal heat and what we should expect for the weekend. And a heartwarming story about a homeowner protecting some fuzzy friends. We'll have that story when News Center 16 returns at noon. Welcome back. It's time for your daily dose of cute and compassionate. A Minnesota homeowner gets creative to help a mother duck protect her eggs. Raccoons have been prowling in the area after seeing an increase in ducklings. It took some research, but the homeowner eventually found a way to protect the fuzzy ducks from hungry raccoons. He created a nest for Millie the mallard using a pool float, a planter, some chicken wire, and overhead protection. She seems to be doing well, enjoying daily swims, feasts, and rests. So you could say Millie the mallard is one lucky duck. Now, it doesn't really seem like we're going to be a lucky duck this weekend, are we?
No. I'm going to be out at the fair this evening, so I'm going to be hot. I will not be in this.
Well, at least the evening, it's starting to cool down a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, a little bit for the fireworks
the
displays. Well, somewhat. Heat index will still be in the 90s even by the time the fireworks displays. But we are in excessive heat warning through Sunday. Afternoon heat index values, the criteria for that is 105. We're going to be, I don't think we quite reach that today, but we will tomorrow and probably not Sunday. You might wonder why central Indiana is just in a heat advisory. It's because they don't really expect it to be anything totally out of the ordinary. You know, farther south, Texas would be in an excessive heat warning half of the summer if they use the same criteria. So just take care of the heat.
Yeah, well, that's News Center 16 at noon, so thank you for joining us.
Do that right now.